Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling. I should see what's going on in a lovely island of Fawnhollow today, where we can talk about whatever we want. What? It's a party up in here. Okay, that bit's going nowhere. I'm going to be perfectly honest. But what can we talk? Oh, you know what I can talk about is the fact today, at least here, obviously at least here in the UK, it's A-levels result day, and you might be like, what does that even mean? Because you might not be from UK, you might be like, I don't really understand. It's basically results day for those who are looking to get into university. Everyone's seeing exactly what grades they got, and I suppose the long and short of it is like, you know, if you got good grades, congratulations, all your hard work is paid off. And if your grades weren't exactly what you expected, then don't worry about it. You know, people have lived a very successful and fulfilling lives even without attaining the grades they want. You know, there's multiple paths to success in life, and your grades don't need to be one which has to define them. It can be defined through many other ways. So that's what I'd say. But hello everyone, and I'm Fawnhallow. It's 5:21 p.m. on Thursday, August 18, 2022. Yeah, and I don't know, I guess I'll talk about results day a little bit. I feel like it was like a month back or so was GCSE results day as well, which is, I guess American equivalent would be like middle school results, which also kind of, I don't know if they matter as much compared, no, I don't know if the American middle school results matter as much compared to here in the UK, but it kind of determines which sixth form you go to most of the time. But yeah, I mean, I'll talk about results day. Like, it's a very easy thing, understandably, to get quite hung up on exactly what results you got. Like, I mean, obviously, best case scenario, you got the results you needed to get into whatever your... Wait, whatever term's called, I forgot. It was like a firm choice and insurance choice, right? It's basically how the UK sort of system works when you're applying for university is back in September. If you're applying to Oxbridge, which is, you know, Oxford or Cambridge, the top two universities in UK, or your deadline being January, I think, of that year, of the same year. Yeah, something like that for every other university, where you basically apply. You know, you send off like applications to all these different universities. You had to send off a load of different things. I remember you had to write like a personal statement, which for me was like a page and a half or something, talking about why you really like the subject. In my case, it was maths. It was like... I don't really remember. I just remember it was really. I was talking to like teachers about it, where it was just like, oh, you know, when you apply to universities, a lot of time for maths, they just kind of more care about your ability. Like there's more focus on ability than necessarily, you know, like extracurricular things in maths, which is, you know, here and there, which, you know, can be good and can be bad for certain people. For me, it's fine because, you know, I was quite good academically, but I mean, I also did extracurricular activities, so, you know, didn't really bother me either way. It was just sort of like going through emotions, jumping through hoops, which I remember. Like, I remember I wrote one, gave it to one teacher. They gave me feedback, and rewrote it, gave it to another teacher. They gave feedback, and just went back and forth over and over and over again. Like, I ended up in like 5 or 6 drafts, and I don't even think the university I went to even read it, if I'm going to be honest. Of course, that varies a lot depending on university. If I understand, I think things like medicine, personal statement matters quite a bit more, but then you had to send other things. You had to send off like predicted grades, the grades you think you're going to get. I'm not sure if the A-levels have changed structure now or anything, but at least when I did it, you had A-levels came in 2 parts. When you were in lower sixth, which is year 12, and upper sixth in year 13, you had the AS and A2 were the 2 parts. And your grade was determined by how well you performed over the 2 years. To get an A-star grade, you had to have like a 80% UMS, which is sort of like the normalized scores at the end. You had to have 80% average at least over the 2 years, and in your second year, the A2 year, you had to have at least 90% throughout all the examinations or whatever for that subject to get an A-star. Right, cool. So, yeah, in the UK, like you send off your applications, and, you know, sometimes universities will get back to you being like, here's an offer, almost immediately. Sometimes you have to go through an interview process or other things. How much personal information am I going to give away? I'm not going to give away that much information, but like, perhaps you can make your own inferences from the things I didn't say, and I suppose that if you're particularly familiar with the system, you'll probably be able to guess exactly. You'll be able to fill in the blanks. But understandably, I'm not going to give away all my personal information. So yeah, like you apply to 5 different university courses, and sometimes they'll get back to you quite slowly. Sometimes they'll take a long while. I will say I was rather good academically, like pretty good, like lots of A stars, quite good. So I ended up... unusual case, it doesn't normally happen, is that well, basically, like, I'm sorry, it's going to sound really braggadocious. There's no other way to really talk about it though. But it's sort of like different methods depending on like what you're predicted to get, and like and what sort of things you study for. I guess I would just talk about the meta that I was familiar with, because that's what all I really know is obviously I was very good academically, and I was applying for a pretty competitive course, a pretty top university, I would say. And the sort of situation with meta goes is when you apply it to universities, when people see your predicted grades and if they see they're very good, basically any of the universities which is not the top universities go like, okay, this person is almost certainly wanting to apply to top universities. I'm going to give them an offer, like a really good offer, like almost immediately, to at least a small smidgen of a chance that they might accept this offer compared to other offers. So, and I applied to 5 universities, one, being an Oxbridge University, one being, and then one being also a very good university for maths, and then 3 other ones which are like pretty decent for maths. The other 3 universities like almost immediately gave me offers. Like I remember when I sent it out, and then of course, the other ones took a bit more time. I had to do like an actual interviews of things, and then I eventually got offers from them as well, which is, pretty nice. And then, that happens, I can't remember, that happens like January or something. It's been years, of course, since I've had to do this entire thing. And then, the only thing you need to luckily think about is doing examinations, and, throughout like May, June time or whatever. I was doing 5 subjects, and I had 2 extra exams to do, so they were quite involved. You might be like, oh, what subjects do you study? I studied maths, further maths, physics, chemistry, electronics, and then I had 2 extra maths exams I had to do on top of everything, just because I had to do it for the course I was doing, which is, you might be like, that's a lot, and you're right, that's a lot, but there's definitely, I can say in retrospect, not the normal amount that people do, because you might be like, hey, I'm kind of familiar with the UK system, don't you only need 3 A-levels to actually get the offer? I mean, you are absolutely right, you only need to do 3 A-levels, to get your university offer, because they will only offer you grades for 3 A-levels. Some might offer you 4. That's kind of dependent on the subject. I don't really know. All the things I applied for always only had 3 A-levels, apart from the extra exams I also had to take along with it. But the offers vary quite a lot. I don't know how much they are nowadays, but obviously the Oxbridge tend to offer things like 2 A stars and an A, maybe 3 A stars or something. Sometimes rare cases 1 A star, 2 A's, and then there's lower grades for other universities. Now it doesn't mean the university is necessarily worse. I mean, I suppose if you look on the university table, they would be worse, and you can argue. But I mean to say they're not objectively worse, because the experience you have of them is going to be different. Some people are better suited for some universities compared to other ones. Unsurprisingly, the top ones are pretty top because they have a high standard of education, of course, but they're also really competitive, and they really push you quite hard compared to other ones which might have a nicer balance between sort of like work and life. Which one you go to, it kind of is up to you, which is kind of like why when you have those university open days, you should absolutely take advantage of them. Anyway, that's kind of in the past now, because that's I guess if anything, that's what kind of lower sick to really start thinking about. But yeah, and then you get around to results day, and it's all very nerve-wracking, I would certainly say. I guess I'll kind of recount my own experiences of results day. I'm not really someone who gets nervous in examinations or anything like that. I always get more nervous for the actual results as it comes out. I mean, my perspective of examinations is, when it comes, I'm always quite like reasonably studious when it comes up leading up to the examinations in the first place. I prepare pretty well. I'm pretty good at doing these sort of things in advance, I think, so it doesn't worry me too much. When it comes to the actual examination time itself, I'm very much sort of like, I'm not going to get like much better within like the 2 hours leading up to the examination. It's just good to sort of just like remind yourself of like easily forgettable facts, which is basically the sort of progress I have. And then I sit down in the examination and I just do my best. But that's basically long and short of it. It's a very thankful thing that I don't get quite nervous in exams, and I'm sure part of it is just due to the fact that I was quite good academically and have a good level of preparedness to myself, of which gave me the confidence to be able to perform, reasonably well when it comes to these sort of like examination times. Of course, that's not the same situation for everyone. I know a lot of people do get really bad exam nerves and things like that, and my condolences to you, but, it's something which I think you sort of get used to the more you do these sort of exams. The more practice you get in, the more confidence you build up, but sometimes it really just is quite an uncontrollable thing. And I mean, I'm not really a psychologist. I don't really have a sort of catch-all solution. It's just sort of like, the best advice I can give for like practical purposes is just do practice examinations under time conditions, so you sort of get used to the stress and the pressure, and eventually you get used to it so much that you're just like, oh, it's no big deal, it's exactly what I'm used to, and it's perfectly fine. And to be fair, most of the time examinations are kind of like quite sort of like stress inducing in the first place, but it's I mean, especially when you're at that age of your life, you're sort of like, this is going to define the rest of my life. To a certain extent, it's going to define the next few years of your life. It's not going to define the rest of your life. And it also is not going to necessarily define the rest of your life for better or for worse, is probably what I'll say. You know, you might have a certain dream of, you know, achieving, you know, going to certain university, going to certain college, attaining certain grades and having your life planned out that sort of way. But, you know, life doesn't always work out that way. And oftentimes, and when you actually live that experience yourself, you'll find out that what actually ends up being your dream is kind of different from reality. But you might be living in the first place. You might find a different dream along the way. Things might completely change trajectories or paths, and that's just, you know, the nature of life in itself. It's understandable, like, certainly have a moment. I mean, I'm talking with, like, my own retrospect, and I'm sure there's people who are even older than me, or even wiser over my years, who will, you know, probably attest to this sort of thing, whereas, like, your life isn't defined by these moments, luckily. While it's certainly good to, you know, work hard in these moments and do the best you possibly can, don't fret. It's not the end of the world if things don't go exactly according to plan, which is kind of like the long and short of it. But yeah, so I remember my results day kind of well. I'm not going to say I remember it exactly perfectly, but it was kind of a weird thing because we have UCAS here in the UK, which is basically the online services for, like, and which basically tell you, did you get into university or not. And at least back in, like, before my time, it was much more customary to go into school, pick up your grades using, like, a sealed envelope. That's at least what happened during GCSE time. And I remember, like, everyone sort of just, like, standing in line, getting their grades, and then just, like, me and my friends sort of, like, opening our grades together, being like, what did we get? And I was like, oh, you know, I did pretty well, I got 11 A stars. So, you know, I ended up being rather happy with myself, of course. But, of course, you know, you get, other people will be rather disappointed in the results they got, being like, oh, you know, I didn't achieve the things they got. Oh, like, I tried so hard and it still wasn't enough. And it's just sort of like, it can feel quite catastrophic, like the end of the world. And I'm here to reassure you, if you got bad grades, it's not the end of the world. Don't worry about it. Take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. Plenty of people have succeeded and done fantastically well for themselves without getting the grades that are needed in, you know, school, university, the sixth form, etc., etc. Your life can be made plenty of other ways, I suppose. There's plenty of other different paths. Yeah, I don't even know why I'm in here. Maybe this is because we don't need to be in here anymore. But for A-levels, it's a little bit different, at least specifically for my case. Because in my case, as I said, I had 2 extra maths exams to do for my university placement and to get into my university. You know, I'd already done the hard part of the interview. I was actually more nervous of the interview, I'm going to be honest. And then, you know, when I got the offer, I was like, what? I even remember getting my offer because it was, I got an email at the end, like towards the end of my, like, chemistry class that day. And I was like, I didn't want to look at it because I was so, like, my heart was like, what's the word, palpitating or whatever. But then I just sort of just like be like, I'm going to have to open this email at some point, just look at it. And I looked at it and I was like, got an offer and I was like, wow. So that's pretty fantastic. But, you know, I suppose it ends up being kind of, I suppose by nature of this video, it's going to end up being quite braggadocious with me just sort of like talking about, like, the good things that happened to me because, you know, studying academia education, it just worked for me, which it doesn't necessarily always work or fit for other people, which is a shame. Not shame in the sense that it doesn't fit for them, but more of a shame in the sense that it's kind of like the only option, isn't it? For, you know, at least the first part of your life, that's the shame. I mean, I forgot what I was going to say. So yeah, on A-level results day, yeah, because I had 2 extra maths exams, those are basically the only ones I was super worried about, and I will say that, like, most of my study time went into those. Like, it was a huge amount of study time. Like, I did, they're called step papers, if you want to know, like, these maths papers, which basically use the maths A-level, like, curriculum, except for the harder. I did every single past paper, for, like, what year did I take them? So 2016 would be the year I did them. So I did every past paper from 2015 all the way back to, like, 1980 something, or was there that many? I think it might have been that many. I did even the old ones, which had a different format. I did all of them to the best of my ability as for my practice. It was an incredible, like, tiring time. I was basically, like, waking up, doing a paper every single day, and then, like, going back the rest of my day, and then, like, marking it and going back the rest of my day, and it was like, whoa, super exhausting, but, you know, I did it. I remember because I found out from, like, some of my other friends who, like, also had to take a paper, also went to the same university. It's like those results were given out rather than the day of exams day. They were given out at midnight itself. rather than like a 8 a.m. or whatever when UCAS normally publishes results, because you have your own separate account. And I remember like being on call on Discord, like talking to people about it, and they were like, oh, you know, the actual results are going to come out in about like half an hour, and I'm like, what? I can't handle this right now. So I said I was like, that's it, I'm going to sleep. I'm going to check it in the morning. I don't want to check it now. But you know me, I ended up checking it anyway while I was in bed because I couldn't get to sleep. I was like, oh no, how did this happen? I was like, oh my god, this is incredibly nerve-wracking. I have to check my results. I checked my results and I got the top grade in both the papers I did. I had to do step 2 and step 3, and I got grade S in both of them, which was incredibly fortunate. You know, I'd be like, how does the thing work? I don't mean cliff construction. They're graded, instead of being like from A star to, I don't actually know what the lowest grade is, U. They are graded from like S, 1, 2, and 3. And for my offer, I needed 1 in step 2 and step 3, and I got SS in step 2 and S3, and I was like, oh my god. And I remember like telling my parents, they were like going to sleep anyway, and I was like, nah, I should tell them right now. I remember telling them, they were so excited. They like leapt out of bed and everything. It was all a fantastic time, and everyone was super happy, you know. And I messaged some friends, you know, before I went to sleep, and they were like, oh, congratulations, all that, you know, and very supportive friends, which is lovely. And then I remember, you know, the next day, in the actual results day, like where we get to, everyone is basically up around 8 a.m. being like, oh, we need to check UCAS, and then we'll be going into our school later that day around lunchtime or so. So, you know, I was just like chatting with who are my friends. Some of my friends, of course, not necessarily replying because they're quite nervous and they don't want to talk about it. Fair enough. Our other friends, you know, actually replying and all that sort of things. It's a very nerve-wracking time for everyone. Yeah, I just remember being like, I mean, on the whole, I was quite chilled out because, you know, I already got results back for like my hardest papers, my hardest examinations. And then, yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. So I was quite relaxed. But I was more relaxed, I would say, but, you know, there was always a little bit in the back of my mind being like, what if you actually just completely bombed the other exams and it just went horribly? Despite the fact that after exams, I had actually quite a bit of confidence, because I was like, I'm pretty sure I did pretty well. It's a good thing about when I'm doing, like, STEM-based exams, is that afterwards, you basically know how well you did, because you can just sort of, like, look up the answers. Everyone's, like, talking about it on the student room, and you can just compare to what other people got, and you're just like, all right, I'm pretty confident in myself. It was a bit different with step paper because the step papers are so open. And there's so many different questions. Not everyone does the same question, so it's hard to get sort of like a collation of all the different answers. And it's really hard to judge because you're judged based on how well you write your answers as well, not just necessarily getting the answer in the end. So that was quite nerve-wracking. But yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. Like for me, I got my fantastic results. I got 4 A stars and an A. You might be like, what did you get your A in? And I got my A in chemistry. And you'd be like, oh, what? How'd you didn't complete the full sweep in all your subjects? And it was no, because I didn't actually revise the chemistry when I did the exam. The only reason I got an A is because in my lower sixth year, when I did the examination, I got an A star like level. And then when I did it in A2, I got an A level and a B level. So I averaged out to an A, so I was like, oh, you know, I'm pretty happy with that. Because seeing as the fact I didn't even need to do chemistry, I was literally doing chemistry for fun. As subject, as I said, you only need 3 A levels. And at least in our school, it was quite ordinary for... most people did like 4 A levels. You know, some people also did 4 A levels, drop 1 to do 3 A levels. And then if you were like really like like one of the smart kids, one of a smart group, you would do 5 A levels, and then you drop 1 of the A levels and do 4 A levels in your second year. And then I, for some reason, was absolutely insane and did 5 A levels in both years. So, but really no good reason, but I don't regret it, because honestly, I found chemistry quite interesting. And you know, I guess it was nice to have like an insurance sort of like subject, just sort of like casting your net wide. Actually, that's not really good advice, because obviously you kind of stretch yourself in. Yeah, but basically, long and short, you didn't really need to do it. I was literally just doing it for fun. But yeah, but I remember talking to my friends about it. Obviously, I'm not going to share exactly what happened to them, but, you know, some did well, some didn't do as well as they hoped. And the sort of conversations about it, like, you know, emotions are sort of running at all-time high, you know. It's a pretty difficult time. I think it's really when your friendship is tested most, relationship-wise, because, you know, some of you will be like strong achievers, strong overachievers or whatever, and like you achieved your dreams, and then some of you will also have been absolutely crushed at the same time, being like, I didn't get exactly what I really hoped for, and you know, opportunity has been taken away from me. And it's a really tough time for, you know, from both sides. Obviously it's easier from the achieve side compared to the not achieve side. I'm not gonna, you know, be unself-aware, I suppose, about my station, but it's this sort of thing that's like, oh, you know, being able to comfort someone who didn't manage to achieve their goals while you are just like absolutely giddy from excitement from being able to achieve your own, and being able to congratulate someone who did achieve their goals when you did not manage to achieve your own. It's just like, it's a really, like, I'm going to be honest, a very tough, I think you'll probably find out who your closest friends are, I suppose, during those moments, depending on how people react. But anyway, I remember, like, we all got our results, you know, talked to my friends. I remember sending out a lot of messages being like, I don't care. No, okay, no, that was not how I phrased it. Being like, no matter how your results went, like good or bad, you know, you're still like one of my closest friends. Don't even worry about it. You are amazing, etc., etc., things like that. Because, you know, I'm not going to go in with the assumption being like, oh yeah, you know, you got your results or you didn't get your results, and you know, there's conversations back and forth basically, as long and short about it. So yeah. I remember we went into school. I can't really remember too much about it. I just remember going into school, everyone like picking up an envelope. Like everyone had already known the results by this point, which is different from GCSEs where you find out on the day. Went into school, everyone talking about it, and like looking at the envelope, you know, laughing, crying or whatever, and comforting each other. And then I remember we had a friend who lived very near the school. He had a really big house, and we were just like, we all agreed, because we had a pretty big friend group, like 10 to 12 of us or something at the time. We were like, we're going to go to his house and we're just going to celebrate. And I remember talking to one of my friends who suggested it at the time, being like, hey, you should suggest a thing where we're like not going to talk about results at all. And I was like, that's a really good idea. And he was like, it's probably going to make more sense coming from you because it will seem like less of like an admission or something. And I was like, that's a fair point. So I remember like we all gathered, and I remember like, I don't know why I remember this part so well, but I think it was just sort of like a, you know, it was a great diffuser of being like how to make things less awkward, I suppose, for everyone. Just like, remember that these times you are temporary, I suppose, and, you know, that might seem kind of depressing, but it's more like appreciate the time you got, you know, spending time with your friends, you know, before you take your first step, I suppose, into the adult world, really is what I mean to say. So being able to just be like, hey, remember, it's not about results. We're all here to have a good time. We're all here to support each other. And we just like had fun. I can't remember exactly what we did. I remember we played some like band hero, guitar hero maybe. He had like a trampoline. He had a huge garden. Well, I think we might have had like a Nerf fight. I think we played some cards. I think we might have played Mafia as well. It was just basically a final sort of like send off, you know, being like, that's the end of our secondary school lives. Here we go to our university lives. And I suppose it's quite easy for me to look back at those moments with like a sense of fondness, but you know, not everyone's going to look back so fondly. Some people had like an awful time, of course, and depending on exactly the things that happened, being like, oh, their world came crashing down. But I'm glad to say I think all my friends found their footing after, for no matter what the results ended up being. So you know, that's like, how many years down the line am I now? 6 years? No, wait, am I 6 years down the line? Yeah, about 6 years down the line. All of my friends have found their footing and found their, or found a life they're comfortable with, or building up to a life they're comfortable with. So, you know, everything is what I'm basically trying to say works out, you know. Even if you got catastrophic grades, something like, people have made it work. Isn't that like a thing? Like, I mean, I'm not like a huge fan of Jeremy Clarkson or anything like that, but you know, he posts, I think quite a motivating thing every single year, like on Twitter, being like, oh, you know, don't even worry about, you know, like, you know, grades or anything, you know. He got like a D, and a U or something in his exam results, and you know, look where he is now, you know. Encouraging, I think, to say the least. And I often think about it because I remember my maths teacher talking about it as well. One of my maths teachers, and multiple maths teachers over years, being like, he got like, he basically didn't try very hard in school or whatever, and he was like, oh, you know, I got like he got like a C, D, and an F or something, or whatever, and he like didn't get to the university of his choice or something. I can't remember his exact story off the top of my head, but you know, and then he built up a happy life, which he was quite fond of, you know, teaching maths at school or whatever, you know. Your life experience, the life ahead of you is full of twists and turns or whatever. So who knows how it's going to end up, you know. Work towards your happiness. Fight for your happiness, I suppose. You'll get it. Yeah, I remember he was super encouraging to people who, you know, didn't necessarily get results they wanted. And he also, you know, to people who should be pushing themselves, made sure that they did push themselves. Like I remember, I remember when I got my results for GCSE, and then I was talking to him about it, and he was just like, yeah, maybe you should have done like another a GCSE to get like 12 A stars at GCSE. And honestly, I'm gonna tell you now, my old maths teacher, if you're watching this, I would have done 12 A levels if I could have chosen any A level for my 12th A level, but no, sorry, not A level, GCSE. I mean, if I could have chosen any, but at least in our school, it was mandatory that if you were to choose like an extra GCSE, it had to be religious studies, and I did not want to do religious studies at GCSE, so I didn't. I wonder if I should have talked to the teachers about it, being like, hey, can I do graphics as an extra GCSE? I kind of like it. But oh well. That's neither here nor there, and that's kind of been passing, now, I mean, I still got my sort of like graphical software experience, despite the fact I didn't take graphics or GCSE anyway. What on earth is going on in Discord? Alright, I see. What was I going to say? Yeah, so I know A-level results time is specifically quite a scary time for a lot of people. Congratulations, though, if you did get into your, was it your firm choice? Or your insurance choice, to be perfectly honest, Congratulations for, well, at the end of the day, congratulations for, doing it in the end. Like, putting through to the very end and, managing to get, like, I mean, any results that you get are results, no matter what. So, yeah, best of luck, I suppose, to what the rest of life holds for you. I wonder how it is, in other countries, like in America and that sort of thing. And I'm not really sure how it goes. I assume you also have like similar sort of examination and results which you had to obtain to like get into the colleges of your choice. But I don't really know how it works in other countries. I assume it's all a similar sort of system, but yeah, I don't know. A weird thing I've heard about is that marking's gotten a lot harsher or something over the years. No, for this year or something, like a lot of, like I remember reading like some news things about like a lot of students were expected to miss like their choices because the fact that A levels would be marked like way harsher or something this year compared to the previous year, which is a scary thought, But as I said, there are many paths and choices you can take through life, You might end up taking gap year. Maybe you'll reset some of your examinations. Maybe you'll try again. Maybe it'll work out. And all I can say to that really is, best of luck. You can do it. And no matter what happens in the end, make good choices which are good for you. Is what I'll say. And luckily, I suppose there are many good choices in the end. At the end of the day. So yeah, I know. Hopefully your results today went well. And if it didn't, don't worry about it. Is probably what I'll say. And this might not make sense, I suppose, if you're from the UK. You might have just heard me talk about random nonsense for really no apparent reason. But at the end of the day, I'm going to round up this episode here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Any likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join my Dear Darling Discord. Follow me on Twitter down below. Hope we see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.